Hello, I've been molding silicone and casting resins for over 20 years. Along the way, I have developed and collected a lot of tips and tricks that I use in my work. Today, I've selected 5 of them that I use almost every day. Perhaps one of them can be used by you.
Here at Knob Soup, we recast vintage steering wheels, restore, mold, and cast dashboard knobs, escutcheons, and rubber items for antique, vintage, and classic cars. Quick tip on stirring your resin. This is a jar that I actually made about 6 months ago, and it's ivory, and it's task 9. T9 stands for task 9, and I mixed up the color. And as you can see, after a week or so, it starts settling where you got all the white on the bottom and then the color is on top. So what I do is a tip that my son told me, because he's a master carpenter, and you use a bench dog. Bench dog looks like this. It's got really nice little fingers. In woodworking, they use it to lay down a layer of glue if they want to do joints. But I use it for mixing up my product that has settled. So I can just, and it gets into the corners. This is an ivory that's separated to the white on the bottom. See, because you just can't get into the corners with just a stick. You can mix it up, but you're never going to get into those corners way down here. I got this on the internet, but actually you can go to a very popular woodworking site and get them. You can get about like 6 in a pack. And the beautiful thing about it is that the tip comes off, so you can wash it, especially since this B side of the resin hasn't hardened up, and so it just washes clean with water because you haven't put the A side, the catalytic side that makes it harden. So there it is. It's all mixed up. A nice ivory. Once a year, I go to my dermatologist for my annual checkup. On his silver tray, he had an array of instruments, and I asked him what they were, and he said they were biopsy punches, and they're made to take samples of skin. They're extremely sharp, and I knew instantly that I could use them in my molding process. I started using the biopsy punch to label my molds because nothing would stick to the silicone. I couldn't use a Sharpie or any kind of pen because it would rub right off. So I started to carve into my molds with that biopsy punch and label them. Later, I found a better way to label my molds, and I started using the biopsy punch just to register and to poke holes in my silicone. Here are a few examples. So if you need to do some carving or punch holes in your silicone or register your silicone, think about using a biopsy punch. They're readily available on eBay, and they're really not that expensive. Now that your mold has cured and heated to get all the impurities out of it, now we're going to label it. And now I use a Sharpie. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. See, now, like right now, it's not working so good. So I'm going to see if I can get it working here. This is a 41 through 48 escutcheon, which I'll abbreviate to ESC. Now, the problem with any kind of pen or Sharpie is that it's not permanent. It'll rub right off, just like that. So what we have to do, as I mentioned before, silicone sticks to silicone. So let's put this down. Let's let's use a different kind of pen. That was a Sharpie. Now I'm going to use a L'Oreal highlighter pen like my wife uses to do her, I guess, eyelashes or eyebrows. And this works perfect. So here's where the magic comes in. Since I know that silicone sticks to silicone, I use a epoxy by Smooth-On. It's a silicone adhesive. It's used for actually mending molds. And I smear it across the lettering, wait about 10 minutes, and it's nice and firm and hard. Won't smear anymore, so it's permanent. Now it's ready to be put into the drawer along with my other molds. Here's another example. This is a 1957 Pontiac fender spare. I've labeled it with the amounts of the different A and B, and I've also put in the product, which is a 202 clear. So all of that information can go on the top of the mold and be permanent. Okay, this is number 4 on the countdown of my 5 favorite tips. This one is going to be about the West Bend crockery crockpot heater. If you have made a Harbor Freight pressure chamber, it will fit perfectly inside this West Bend heater. How this came about is I had a crockpot, this crockpot, and I broke the crockery inside it, which is a, I guess it's, I don't know, porcelain. It fits inside. I broke it and I was going to throw it away, and I went, let me see if I can use this. So I measured this, and the inside diameter is 9 5/8, and the dimension of the pressure pot is 9.5. So it will fit perfectly inside this crock pot. I was using this timer on it, but as you can see, it was getting well worn and I was worried about breaking it. So I went out to Home Depot and got this timer on it, and so I can set the timer, and you can see the light come on, and I used it only up to about 20 minutes at a time, and I don't have to worry about it overheating. If you're looking for a low-cost heater for your resin projects, this West Bend 8-quart crockpot, in combination with a Harbor Freight pressure chamber, could be the answer. It will speed up the curing time for silicone and resins. Preheat silicone molds before casting clear resins, and to burn off the alcohol residue on your silicone mold after curing. This 8-quart West Bend crockery needs to be the round type, model 84316. Look for one on eBay or in the Goodwill or thrift stores. This is my pipetman. Years ago, I was sitting next to my sister-in-law who works for Bayer, bemoaning the fact that I had a hard time getting the color right for my steering wheels exactly every time I poured. And she said, why don't you use a pipetman? And so she sent me one. And this is it. A pipetman is a technical instrument that measures fluids in microliters. You see these pipetmans a lot on any shows that are doing a segment on viruses or things of that nature, because they always have them dispensing liquids out of a pipette. And here it is. This is a 1000, and I am going to demonstrate how I use it so I can duplicate colors again and again with steering wheels. And so in this demonstration, I'm going to do a 1937 Lincoln Zephyr taillight, and I'm going to show you how I use my pipetman. Years ago, I made this mold so I could make samples of colors and then write down the formula. This is the color for the taillight, and here's the formula for it. The first thing you'll see is that we need 200 grams of type B Task 9. I'm using an 8-ounce canning jar, and it goes almost to the lid. That'll be exactly 200 grams. 200 grams of this red will make 4 taillights. So the next thing we'll see is that we need So Strong Red at 115 microliters. So since my pipetman only goes up to 100, I half it, and so that means that there's 57 and a half microliters of red, twice. The next thing you'll see is that I add 50 microliters of yellow. So we're going to add the red, and then we're going to add the yellow, mix them up, and pour it. Putting on a pipette, I draw out 57 and a half exact milliliters, and I put it into my part B, task 9. This way it can drip in there. And while it's dripping, what I want to say is this formula is going to be the same whether it's in the other side of the country or right next door. The beauty of it is when you cast taillight lenses, you have to cast them in twos because any light going through that taillight is going to show dramatically, even if it's just a little off. And you don't want 2 different colored taillights. The other thing that I want to mention, and goes for all you YouTubers that are making taillight lenses. Most taillight lenses are not just red. There's a lot of yellow in them, especially the Ford taillights, late 1930s. This photograph shows you the edge of a taillight. This is a 39 taillight, and it has a lot of yellow in the edge. So what I did is when I made this formula up and I dialed it in, I had 50 yellow So Strong. So after we get done putting in the 2 So Strong reds, we're going to put in yellow. So let's go ahead and put another 57 and a half red in there. Just let that drip for a little while. So that's the red. So we've got the red in there. Okay. And they call it So Strong because that's exactly what it is, so strong. That's the reason why you need a pipetman, because it's exact. Because if you try using this with an eyedropper, the droplets on an eyedropper can vary in size. They can be a large drop or a small drop. So you could say like 13 drops, and you'd not get the same the next time you did 13 drops because the viscosity of the droplet may change. Now here's the yellow. And we're going to do the same thing with the yellow. We're going to put some in here. I have another pipette. Dial this into 50 now. 50 yellow. 50 exact. Drawing it up. And we're just going to let those drain. On the top of this 37 mold, I have written that it takes 48 grams of the B. 115% of the A would be 55 grams. So I'm going to mix those 2 together and then put them into the mold and into my pressure chamber. To get this 37 taillight lens out of this mold, I'm going to use a little bit of water, soap, and some gentle persuasion.
This pipetman formula is going to be the same 2 years from now. It's going to be the same if I send it across the country. It'll be the same if you use it. You'll get the exact same color that I'm getting right now. And that's the beauty of it. Thank you for watching. If you found these tips helpful or informative, pass them along.